Hey guys, and welcome to the second part of the How to iDefine traffic light series. In this video we're going to look at how we can improve the module we created in the first video by adding car detection and pedestrian crossing to hopefully bring it closer to a real crossing that we know and love. So if we go to the module that we created in the first video, what we want to do is we want to add a pedestrian state and a car detected state to this diagram. So I'm just going to drag a state onto the diagram and I'm going to type in pedestrian for this one, and then the pedestrian wants to be between green and amber, so I'm going to drag it over to that area of the module. And the reason it's there is because the pedestrian will only be really pressing the button when it's green anyway. So I'm going to add a transition between green and the pedestrian state, and then another transition between pedestrian and amber. Now I'm going to save that, and then I'm going to client IO because I need to create a tag for a pedestrian button. So when this button is pressed, the pedestrian it goes to the pedestrian state, but only while it's less than 20 seconds into that 30-second auto transition that we did in the previous video. So I'm going to add a tag here and then add a description and then click save. Now let's open up our module again, state module. And what we want to do is we want to assign that tag to the transition from green to pedestrian. So to do that we need to open our Module Explorer and open the IO references in the bottom right. Then we want to drag the tag up to physical inputs as you saw there and click OK. And what that does is it assigns it to as an input. Now if we double click on the transition, and we can see the tag in there, and we just say that on trigger we want that transition to happen for that tag. So we also want to add a timer to this other transition of 10 seconds. And we do that by clicking on the drop down and selecting the 10-second one, which we used for amber to red and red amber to green. So we want to click that and click save. And we also want to add a time to the green to pedestrian transition of 20 seconds. So while it's less than 20 seconds and only when the pedestrian button has been pressed will that transition be activated. That's what I'm setting up here. So click save, save that off, and that's pretty much our pedestrian transition sorted. So we press the button, as long as it's less than 20 seconds elapsed, then it will go to pedestrian, and then after 10 seconds it will go to amber. So the next thing we want to do is we want to drag on a state for car detected. So this is when we're in red, the traffic light is red, and a car is detected to be waiting at the traffic lights. We want it to prioritize the car at this point to say, you know, there's a car there, so speed up a little bit because you don't want to keep them waiting too long. Remember, this is very simple. We're not getting into the complex bits yet. We just want to add these in for now. So in these transitions, in this one from red to car detected, we want the button to be pressed within, so we're using a button instead of a physical sensor because it's just an emulation. So when the car is detected or the button is pressed and the state time is less than 20 seconds, then it will transition to car detected. So we've added the times in there, but what we need to add the client IO item for car detected, the tag for car detected into client IO. So if we go into client IO and we create a new tag, call it car detected and a description for it. And what we also want to add is the output of that state being shown on the simulation page. And to do that you need a tag in order to drive the indication. So for example, if you pushed the pedestrian button and you wanted that button to light up, then you need a separate output to indicate that it's gone into that state and that it is lit up and it is doing what you expect. So that's what I'm doing here, is adding a car detected one, and also a pedestrian one as well. So once we've done that, we want to go back to our module and open up our Object Explorer on the side with iReferences. Drag all the tags that we just created into the Object Manager so that we can use them in our transitions. So now that all them have been added, we can go into the transition, make sure we've got the right one selected, and select the relevant times and also the relevant tags which drive this transition. So for this one, it needs to be less than 20 seconds, and also the car detected button has been pressed. And then for this one, it is 10 seconds of the timer. And then just go to the other transition, which should be 30 seconds, which it is as well. So now all the logic's been done, we need to make sure that the simulation page is up to scratch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the traffic lights look a bit more like a traffic light, and I'm going to do it by using a comment box and changing the background of that comment box to a different color, as you saw, and put the lamps on top of it, get another one and make it black, and just resize it so it's a bit more traffic light shaped. So make it a bit thinner and line it all up correctly. Get rid of some of those little tags. You can do all this from the properties menu. And then I'm going to add the buttons as well, so you can go on the control objects and select a button, and then you can assign the colors and the tags to that button. And you also want to assign, so this is the second button for the car detection and one for the pedestrian. And we can assign the colors here at the bottom and the tags. So the top bit is where you assign the tags to which it controls. So for example, here I'm picking the car detected tag, which is what I want this button to control. And you can have a different tag for true and false if you so wish, but we're just going to have the same one here. So then I'm going to pick the indication tag as well. So what I've done is I've picked the wrong one here, so I just reassign those, and in here I want to select car detected to say that when there is a car detected or it's in that state that I'm driving, the button will light up, in this case red, when it's true, and say OK. So I'm just going to quickly do the other button for pedestrian crossing, and now that's finished, I want to go back to the module and I want to label it all up, because I know that it's very useful when running the module in a viewer to see exactly what each one's supposed to be doing without having to double click on it and see the transition. With all those labeled up and done, we can then go and emulate our module to make sure it's operating as we expect. As we can see here, we press play and everything lights up, and if we click the car detected button, it transitions to car detected, and then we need to wait for 10 seconds to count up in this case. So when it's greater than 10 seconds it should transition to red amber, and then it should go to green after 3 seconds. So then we want to click the pedestrian, and there you go, the pedestrian button takes us to the pedestrian state, and then we should transition to amber after 10 seconds, and there you go, and then it transitions to red after 3, and Bob's your uncle. So now we've done that, we want to stop this simulation, and we need to compile this into our output configuration so that we can test it with our simulator. So opening up this output config, we want to up the iteration and then rebuild it into that new iteration, And once that's done, click the close button. And then we want to go to our viewer tab and open up the simulator. And we're just going to do it this way around. So I'm going to load the output configuration first, and then I'm going to open the viewer afterwards, which is fine. Now, one thing to mention here is that because we haven't updated any of the components that are stored in the viewer configuration itself, we don't need to change anything. So we may need to reconfigure it a little bit, but we can just connect it up and then press the play button with our new output configuration. That's all we needed to change. And with the play button, we should see that it runs as we expect. So when we click the button on the actual page, now for some reason it's not updating the simulation page with the relevant thing, and the reason is it's going to red amber. So the reason is because in the state cart detected, I haven't set the output to be red amber, or in this case I just want it to continue to be red and then go to red amber when it goes to red amber. So I'm going to unload this all, and I'm going to go to the module, and if I go to the outputs tab at the bottom, or the outputs tab, and change the output for the car detected, so when this module is in the car detected state, the red output is true, and also when we're in the pedestrian state, that the green light is true. And we also need to make sure that when we're in the car detected state, that the car detected output is true, and when we're in the pedestrian state, that the pedestrian state is also true. And now that's been done, we can click save and then go to our output configuration and rebuild. We don't need to update anything. We just rebuild that, click close, go back to our simulator and unload the old configuration and reload the new one that we just built. And then if we go to our viewer and just unconnect and reconnect the viewer in the top left so that it resets it, and press play on the simulator, and hopefully this time round it should work as we expect. So if we push the button, there you go, so it's gone to the car detected state, it's stayed in red, and it's also lit up the button as well to show that that's been triggered. And then after 10 seconds it should go to red amber, and that should change on the traffic lights, and the light goes off on the button, and then after 3 seconds it goes to green. Winner winner. We then press the button for pedestrian crossing, which is lit up because it's in that state, and then after 10 seconds, and it stays green, after 10 seconds it should go to amber. There you go, and it's amber on the traffic light, and then go to red, and it should go to red, and there you go. So that's all for this one, guys. The next one is going to look at creating multiple traffic lights and making it look a bit more like a crossing, a four-way crossing, and yeah, get them all in sync and working together. So like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.